Jake Morrison pressed his face against the window of the transport shuttle and watched the massive space station grow larger. Kepler-7 looked like a wheel spinning slowly in the darkness, its lights twinkling across the metal surface. He had seen pictures before, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. This station was home to over 50,000 beings from dozens of different worlds. First time seeing it? The woman next to him asked. Dr. Lauren Hayes was looking at the station too, her eyes wide with the same excitement Jake felt. Yeah, Jake said. I still can't believe we're actually here. Lauren smiled. Me neither. 3 months ago I was teaching physics to college students. Now I'm going to work at the most advanced research facility in the galaxy. The shuttle docked 20 minutes later. Jake grabbed his bag and followed Lauren through the airlock. The moment he stepped into the station, he felt the difference. The gravity was set to Earth normal, but the air smelled strange. Not bad, just different, sweet and metallic at the same time. The arrival area was crowded with beings of all shapes and sizes. Jake saw a group of tall, thin aliens with blue skin walking past. They moved with an odd grace like dancers. Nearby, a short creature with 4 arms was arguing with a security officer. The translator in Jake's ear turned the angry clicks and whistles into words he could understand. Lieutenant Commander Morrison? Dr. Hayes? A voice called out from behind them. Jake turned and found himself looking up at one of the tallest beings he had ever seen. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with pale silver skin and 4 large eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on her face. Her body was thin, almost fragile looking, and she wore a white coat that marked her as a scientist. I am Velkara, she said. Her mouth barely moved when she spoke, but the translator made her words clear. I will be supervising your work here. Welcome to Kepler-7. Thank you, Lauren said, extending her hand. Velkara looked at the hand for a moment before carefully taking it. Her grip was light, barely there. Velkara led them through the station. The corridors were wide and tall, clearly designed for species larger than humans. Jake noticed that many of the other beings gave them curious looks as they passed. Humans were still new to the galactic community. 15 years was nothing compared to the thousands of years most other species had been traveling the stars. Your quarters are in Section 12, Velkara explained as they walked. You will share the living area with other members of the research team. Tomorrow you will begin work on the materials project. We have much to accomplish. She stopped at a door and pressed her long fingers against a panel. The door slid open, revealing a large common area with several doors leading off to private rooms. 2 beings were already inside. The first was massive, easily over 6 feet tall and almost as wide. His skin was dark gray and covered with thick plates that looked like armor. Heavy muscles bulged under his clothing. He looked up from the tablet he was reading and studied Jake and Lauren with small, deep-set eyes. This is Crix, Velkara said. He is Dolgothi. His people evolved on a world with gravity twice what you are used to. Crix is our structural engineer. Crix stood and gave a slight bow. When he moved, Jake could hear the heavy thud of his footsteps. Welcome, humans, he said in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. I have read much about your species. You are brave to come so far from your home. The second being was smaller, about the same height as Lauren. She had green skin and large dark eyes that seemed to take up half her face. Delicate antennae sprouted from the top of her head and moved constantly, twitching and turning. And this is Mira, Velkara continued. She is Selnari. She will handle all computer systems and data analysis. Mira smiled, showing small pointed teeth. Hello, she said softly. I hope your journey was pleasant. It was long, Jake admitted. But seeing the station made it worth it. Velkara nodded. Good, rest tonight. Tomorrow we begin at the 7th hour. The fabrication lab is in Section 9. Do not be late. She turned and left without another word. Jake and Lauren looked at each other. Crix chuckled, the sound deep and rumbling. Do not worry about Velkara. She is strict but fair. The Zenthari pride themselves on precision and order. She will expect much from you, but she will also teach you much. What's the project about? Lauren asked, setting her bag down. Mira's antennae perked up. We are testing a new composite material for deep space construction. It is designed to withstand extreme temperatures and radiation, while remaining light enough for easy transport. The prototype arrived last week. We must build a test frame and run stress analysis. Sounds interesting, Jake said. I've worked with composites before, back on Earth. Crix raised what might have been an eyebrow. What did you build? Bridge components mostly. Some building frameworks. Nothing as advanced as what you're describing, but the principles should be similar. Perhaps, Crick said, though his tone suggested doubt. We shall see tomorrow. The material is unlike anything in common use. It requires careful handling. They talked for another hour, sharing stories about their homeworlds. Jake learned that Cricks came from a planet called Dorgath, where everything was heavier and stronger than on Earth. The Dolgothi were considered the physically strongest species in known space. They worked in jobs that required raw power and endurance. Mira's world was called Selnar, a place of vast oceans and floating cities. Her people were known for their intelligence and computational abilities. They could perform complex calculations in their heads that would take humans hours with computers. What about humans? Mira asked. What are your people known for? Jake and Lauren exchanged glances. We're still figuring that out, Lauren said carefully. We're pretty new to all this. We're okay at a lot of things, I guess, but not exceptional at any one thing. Cricks made a sound that might have been sympathy. Every species has gifts. You will discover yours in time. Eventually, Jake and Lauren said goodnight and went to their rooms. Jake's quarters were small but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a window looking out at the stars. He sat on the bed and felt the exhaustion from the long journey catch up with him. Tomorrow he would start work alongside beings from worlds he had only dreamed about. The thought was exciting and terrifying at the same time. He had trained for 2 years to get this position. He had studied alien engineering principles and learned to use tools designed for different hands. But he still felt like he was pretending. Like any moment someone would realize he didn't belong here. Jake pushed the thought away and lay down. The bed was too firm, the room too quiet, but eventually sleep came. The next morning, Jake woke to his alarm and dressed quickly. Lauren was already in the common area, drinking something that smelled like coffee but looked purple. Cricks was eating what appeared to be raw meat from a bowl. Mira was at her computer station, her fingers flying across a keyboard that had twice as many keys as any human design. Ready for your first day? Lauren asked. Jake nodded, trying to ignore his nervous stomach. As ready as I'll ever be. They arrived at the fabrication lab early. Velkara was already there, reviewing plans on a large display screen. The lab was huge, filled with equipment Jake recognized and many things he didn't. In the center of the room sat several large crates. Good, Velkara said when she saw them. You are punctual. We will begin with inventory and then move to assembly. The project timeline is strict. We have 40 days to complete the test frame and begin stress analysis. She opened the first crate, revealing sheets of the new material. It was dark gray and seemed to shimmer in the light like oil on water. This is the composite. It is strong but light. Handle it carefully. The edges can be sharp. For the next several hours, they worked to unpack and organize the materials. Jake found himself enjoying the work. It was familiar in a way, like the construction projects he had done on Earth, just with better tools and stranger co-workers. Velkara directed everything with calm efficiency. Cricks moved the heaviest pieces with ease. Mira tracked everything in the computer system, making sure nothing was lost or damaged. By the end of the day, Jake was tired but satisfied. They had made good progress. The materials were organized and ready. Tomorrow they would begin actual assembly. As they walked back to their quarters, Lauren bumped his shoulder. Not bad for day one, she said. Yeah, Jake agreed. I think this might actually work out. He had no idea how right he was or how one simple mistake would change everything. 3 weeks passed in a blur of work. Jake settled into a routine that felt comfortable. Wake up, breakfast with the team, 8 hours in the lab, then evening study time learning more about alien engineering. He was starting to understand the differences between human and galactic methods. The other species focused on precision and careful planning. Everything was measured 3 times before cutting once. The test frame was taking shape in the center of the lab. It stood 15 feet tall, a skeleton of beams and joints that would eventually support stress tests. The new composite material performed well. It was lighter than anything Jake had worked with on Earth, but somehow stronger. Velkara seemed pleased with their progress, which was saying something. The Zenthari scientist rarely showed emotion. Lauren had become friends with Mira. The 2 women spent evenings discussing physics and mathematics. Jake sometimes joined them, but often their conversations went over his head. He preferred the practical work of assembly to theoretical discussions. Cricks was a surprise. Jake expected the Dolgothi to be aggressive or rough, but Crix was patient and thoughtful. He moved carefully around the delicate equipment, aware of his strength. He taught Jake techniques for handling heavy loads and showed him tricks for reading stress patterns in materials. "Your species is young," Crix said one afternoon while they were waiting for Velkara to approve the next section. "But you learn quickly." "That is good. Some species take centuries to adapt to new methods." "We don't really have centuries," Jake said. "Humans live maybe 80 or 90 years if we're lucky." Crix's eyes widened slightly. "So short? That must make life feel urgent, I guess so. We try to fit a lot in." The Dolgothi nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why you work so hard. You know your time is limited." On the 22nd day, they reached a critical point in the assembly. A primary support beam needed to be installed at the top of the frame. The beam was 30 feet long and thick as Jake's thigh. It would connect the main vertical supports and distribute weight across the entire structure. Velkara stood at her control station, manipulating the robotic arm that would lift the beam into place. The arm was a marvel of engineering, all smooth joints and precise movements. It lifted the beam from its cradle and began moving it slowly upward. Lauren was on the platform at the top of the frame, ready to guide the beam into position. Jake stood below, watching the monitors that showed stress readings from the frame. Mira tracked everything on her computer. Crix stood ready to make adjustments if needed. The beam rose smoothly. Lauren called out directions to Velkara, who made tiny corrections to the arm's position. Everything was going perfectly. Then a warning light flashed on Velkara's console. She hissed something in her own language that the translator didn't catch. The robotic arm jerked suddenly. "Hydraulic failure," Velkara announced, her voice tight with concern. "The arm is losing power," Jake looked up. The beam was directly above Lauren, maybe 6 feet from its mounting point. The arm was shaking, struggling to hold the weight. Lauren's eyes went wide as she realized what was happening. The beam slipped. Lauren didn't think. She reached out and caught the beam as it fell toward her. Her hands grabbed the smooth composite surface and held on. The weight drove her to one knee, but she didn't let go. Her arms shook with effort, muscles straining. "Jake!" she shouted. He was already moving. Jake ran to the ladder and climbed faster than he ever had before. His heart pounded in his chest. The ladder shook under his weight as he pushed himself upward. He reached the platform in seconds and grabbed the other end of the beam. Together they lifted. The beam rose from Lauren's shoulder where it had settled. Jake felt his muscles burn with the effort, but they got it up to chest height, then higher. Lauren found her feet and pushed upward with her legs. They maneuvered the beam toward the mounting brackets. "Hold it there," Crix called from below. "I'm coming to help." But the mounting system wasn't aligned. Jake could see the problem. The brackets needed to be adjusted before the beam could be secured. That would take time. Time they would have to spend holding this weight. "How long?" Lauren gasped. 2 minutes, Velkara said. She had left her station and was working on a manual control panel. "Maybe 3. The system needs to recalibrate." Jake's arms were already tired. The beam pressed down on his hands, threatening to slip from his grip. Next to him, Lauren's face was red with effort. But they held on. Crix reached the platform. The Dolgothi looked at the humans holding the beam and froze. His mouth opened slightly. He seemed unable to move, just staring. "Crix," Jake said through gritted teeth. "Little help here." The Dolgothi blinked and shook his head. "Yes, of course." But his voice sounded strange, uncertain. Velkara's voice came over the intercom. "Brackets are aligned. You can set it in place." Together, the 3 of them guided the beam into position. The brackets closed around it with solid clicks. Magnetic locks engaged. The beam was secure. Jake let go and stepped back, breathing hard. His arms felt like rubber. Sweat ran down his face. Next to him, Lauren bent over with her hands on her knees, gasping for air. But they were both fine. Tired, but fine. The lab was completely silent. Jake looked down and saw Velkara standing motionless at her control panel. All 4 of her eyes were fixed on him and Lauren. Mira had turned away from her computer, her antennae standing straight up. Even the automated system seemed to have gone quiet. "What?" Jake asked. "Is something wrong?" Velkara's mouth moved, but no sound came out. She tried again. "You held it," she said quietly. "You held the beam?" "Yeah," Lauren said, still catching her breath. "It was falling. Someone had to catch it. For how long?" Velkara asked. Jake checked his watch. "About 2 minutes. Maybe a bit more. Why?" Crix made a sound like a cough. That beam weighs 136 kilograms, he said slowly. In this gravity? Lauren frowned. Okay, so? So that is impossible, Velkara said. She moved toward the ladder, her long legs carrying her quickly. Within moments, she was on the platform with them. She reached out and touched Jake's arm, her fingers gentle. May I? May you what? Examine you. I need to understand what just happened. Jake looked at Lauren, who shrugged. Sure, I guess. Velkara pulled a scanner from her coat pocket. It was a small device that looked like a flashlight. She pointed it at Jake and pressed a button. The scanner hummed softly. She studied the display, then scanned Lauren. Her eyes grew wider with each passing second. This cannot be correct, she muttered. The readings must be wrong. Crix had picked up the beam end, testing its weight. The mass is accurate, he rumbled. I can barely lift this alone. I could hold it for perhaps 45 seconds before my muscles would fail. You held it for over 2 minutes. Both of us held it, Jake pointed out. Not just one. That makes it worse, Crix said. You are smaller than me. Much smaller. Your bones should have fractured under that weight. Lauren held up her hands and looked at them. I feel fine. Tired but fine. My hands aren't even bruised. Velkara was working her scanner frantically now, checking its calibration against known standards. She scanned a tool, then a piece of the frame, then Jake again. Each time the device gave the same results. Finally, she lowered it and looked at them both with something like fear in her eyes. Your muscle density is wrong, she said. Your bone structure is wrong. According to every model we have of bipedal evolution, you should not be able to do what you just did. Your skeletal system should have collapsed. Your muscles should have torn. But you are not even injured. Maybe humans are just stronger than you thought, Jake said, trying to make it sound like a joke. But nobody laughed. Mira had climbed up to the platform. She stared at the humans like they were aliens, which Jake supposed they were. How do you feel right now? She asked Lauren. Tired, my arms are sore. I could really use some water, Lauren said. But I'm okay, why? Because Crix is right. You should not be okay. What you did should have caused serious injury. But you are standing here having a normal conversation. That is not normal. Velkara turned to Crix. How much can you lift? In this gravity. Perhaps 180 kilograms for a short time. 150 for any sustained effort. And you are Dolgothi. Your species evolved specifically for strength. You were bred in high gravity. Your entire physiology is designed for power. Velkara looked back at the humans. They are from a standard gravity world. Their species is young. They should be weak compared to you. But they're not, Crix said quietly. Velkara touched her communication device. I need to speak with the Institute director, and I need the medical facility to prepare for a full physical assessment. This requires formal investigation. Investigation? Jake said. We just caught a falling beam. It's not that big a deal. It is a very big deal, Velkara said. Her voice was calm but firm. What you just demonstrated contradicts everything we understand about comparative biology. If humans are this strong, there are implications. For safety protocols, for equipment design, for a great many things. Can we at least finish for today? Lauren asked. We're so close to completing this section. Velkara hesitated, then nodded. Yes, we will finish. But tomorrow, you will report to the testing facility. We need to understand exactly what humans are capable of, and we need to know why nobody noticed this before now. They completed the assembly in silence. Jake's mind raced with questions. Were humans really that different from other species? They had always assumed they were average, maybe even weak, compared to aliens. Earth had only joined the galactic community 15 years ago. The first contact team had gone through medical examinations, but apparently nobody had done serious strength testing. Or maybe they had, and nobody had bothered to share the results. Jake made a mental note to check the first contact records when he had time. As they cleaned up the work area, Crix approached him. I do not mean to alarm you, the Dolgothi said quietly. But what happened today will spread quickly. By tomorrow, everyone on this station will know. The humans who lifted what should have crushed them. Great, Jake muttered. Just what we need. More attention. It is not bad attention, Crix said. Merely surprised attention. We thought we understood the limits of biological possibility. You have shown us we were wrong. That is valuable. Uncomfortable, but valuable. Back in their quarters that evening, Jake and Lauren sat in silence. Mira had excused herself to her room. They were alone. Did we mess up? Lauren finally asked. I don't know. Jake admitted. We did what anyone would do. We saw something falling and we caught it. How were we supposed to know that was weird? Because everything here is weird. We're the weird ones. Jake nodded slowly. That was becoming very clear. The testing facility was located in the medical section of Kepler 7. Jake and Lauren arrived at the 8th hour as requested. The room was large and white, filled with equipment that looked like a combination of a gym and a hospital. Velkara was there along with 3 other Xanthari scientists Jake didn't recognize. Crick stood in the corner watching quietly. Thank you for coming, Velkara said. Her tone was formal, professional. I have explained the situation to my colleagues. They share my concerns about the discrepancy between observed performance and predicted capability. We would like to conduct a series of controlled tests. What kind of tests? Lauren asked. One of the other Xanthari, a male with darker silver skin, stepped forward. I am Torval, the station's chief medical officer. We will measure your strength, endurance, and structural integrity using standard galactic protocols. The tests are not dangerous. We simply wish to understand your physical capabilities. Jake and Lauren exchanged glances. They had talked late into the night trying to decide how to handle this. Finally, they had agreed that cooperation was the best approach. If there was really something unusual about humans, better to find out now in a controlled setting than during an emergency. Okay, Jake said. What do you need us to do? The first test was simple grip strength. Jake squeezed a device that measured force. The machine beeped and displayed a number. Torval looked at the reading and made a note. Then Lauren took her turn. Next came lifting tests. They had set up weights on a bar, starting light and gradually increasing. Jake lifted each weight, holding it at chest height until told to stop. He made it through 10 different levels before his arms started to shake. The scientists watched in silence, making notes. Lauren performed the same tests. She was smaller than Jake, but her results were similar. When she finished, Torval was shaking his head slowly. This is consistent with yesterday, Velkara said. But it makes no sense. Your muscle cross-section is not large enough to produce this output. There must be something in the cellular structure we are missing. They moved to endurance tests. Jake ran on a machine that measured his speed and heart rate. He ran for 30 minutes at a steady pace before Torval stopped him. How do you feel? The doctor asked. Fine, Jake said, breathing hard but not exhausted. I could keep going. That is the problem. You should not be able to keep going. Your oxygen consumption is normal. Your heart rate is elevated but not dangerous. Yet you have been running at a pace that would exhaust most species within 10 minutes. Lauren's test produced similar results. She ran for 25 minutes before Torval called a stop. She was sweating but smiling. That wasn't so bad, she said. Velkara was working on her tablet, comparing numbers. I have contacted Earth. I spoke with the human delegation there. They are sending someone to help explain these results. Who? Jake asked. A physicist named Peter Chen. He specializes in comparative biology and evolution. He should arrive this evening. The afternoon brought more tests. They measured bone density, skin thickness, reaction time, healing rate from minor cuts. With each test, the scientists grew more confused. Jake felt like a specimen under a microscope. He understood why they were interested, but it was getting uncomfortable being poked and scanned constantly. Finally, Torval called an end to the testing. We have enough data for now. Please return to your quarters and rest. We will continue tomorrow after Dr. Chen arrives. That evening, Jake lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling. His body felt tired from all the tests, but his mind wouldn't stop racing. What if humans really were different? What would that mean for Earth's place in the galaxy? Would other species be afraid of them? Would they be banned from certain activities because they were too strong? A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Crix entered, ducking slightly to fit through the doorway. I wanted to check on you, the Dolgothi said. Today was difficult, I think. Yeah, Jake admitted. It was weird being studied like that. I understand. When my people first joined the galactic community, we faced similar scrutiny. Everyone wanted to test the strong Dolgothi. They wanted to measure us to understand how we could be so powerful. Crick sat on the floor, too large for Jake's furniture. It felt invasive, like they saw us as tools rather than people. That's exactly it, Jake said. I keep waiting for someone to ask if they can use us for heavy labor or something. They will not. The Council has strict laws about exploitation, but I will not lie to you. Your strength will make other species nervous. My people are still not fully trusted in some circles. They worry we might use our power to dominate. We're not like that, Jake protested, I know. And my people are not like that either. But fear is not rational. Give them time. Let them see that humans are more than just strong bodies. Show them your minds, your creativity, your compassion. That is what my people did. Eventually, the galaxy accepted us. Jake nodded slowly. Thanks, Crix, that helps. The Dolgothi stood to leave, then paused. One more thing. I have been researching human history. Your species has a saying about strength. Do you know it? Which one? We have a lot of sayings. With great power comes great responsibility. I think this is wise. Your people understand that strength must be guided by conscience. That will serve you well in the galaxy. After Crix left, Jake felt better. The Dolgothi was right. Humans would adapt, just like every other species had. They just needed time. Dr. Peter Chen arrived the next morning. He was a short man with gray hair and quick movements. He carried a large bag filled with tablets and data storage devices. Commander Nicole Shepard accompanied him. She was tall and muscular, wearing the uniform of Earth's Space Force. Lieutenant Commander Morris and Dr. Hayes, she said, shaking their hands. I'm here to provide support and ensure Earth's interests are represented. Dr. Chen is here to help everyone understand what's happening. They gathered in a conference room. Velker and Torval were there, along with Crix, Mira, and several other scientists Jake didn't know. Peter set up his presentation on the main screen. Let me start by saying that humans are not trying to hide anything, Peter began. We genuinely didn't know we were unusual. Earth is our only reference point. To us, our abilities are normal. He brought up an image of Earth from space. Let me explain some things about our homeworld. Earth orbits a G-type star we call Sol. The distance and our atmospheric composition mean we receive significant radiation, more than most habitable worlds in known space. That should make your world hostile to life, one of the scientists said. It does make life challenging, Peter agreed, which is why life on Earth evolved robust cellular repair mechanisms. Our cells are constantly bombarded with radiation, so they had to develop ways to fix damage quickly and efficiently. He switched to a diagram showing human cellular structure. This is a human cell. Note the density of mitochondria, the thickness of the cell wall, the complexity of the repair proteins. We are essentially built to take damage and recover from it. Velkara studied the image. This explains the rapid healing we observed. But it does not explain the strength. I'm getting to that, Peter said. He pulled up a video of humans running. My species evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't catch prey by being faster. We caught them by being relentless. We would chase an animal for hours, sometimes days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. Our bodies are designed for endurance. Many species hunt, Torval said. That is not unique. True, but most species hunt with bursts of speed or with tools from a distance. Humans did both. But our primary advantage was that we could keep going when everything else had to stop. Our cooling system is extremely efficient. Our energy storage is optimized for long-term output, and our muscle fibers are structured to resist fatigue. Nicole stood up. I can add some context here. I'm a soldier. My job requires physical fitness. On Earth, we have something called training. We deliberately stress our bodies, damage our muscles, push ourselves to exhaustion. Then we rest and eat, and our bodies rebuild stronger than before. You damage yourselves on purpose? Mira asked, her antennae twitching with confusion. Yes, it's how we get stronger. We lift weights to build muscle. We run long distances to improve endurance. We practice fighting to develop reflexes. It's normal for us. Peter brought up more images. Humans climbing mountains. Humans swimming in rough water. Humans fighting in combat sports. We have an entire culture built around physical challenge. We seek out difficult tasks and overcome them, not for survival, but for personal satisfaction. The room was silent. Jake watched the other species processing this information. They looked uncomfortable. There's one more factor, Peter said quietly. And this is the one that will be hardest to understand. Humans are psychologically adapted to violence. We spent millions of years competing with other predators and with each other. War, conflict, physical competition, these are deeply embedded in our culture and our biology. You are saying humans are naturally violent? Velkara asked carefully. I'm saying we have the capacity for violence and we've learned to control it. Most humans will go their whole lives without ever hurting anyone. But the potential is there, in our muscles and our reflexes and our instincts. We are predators who learned to be civilized, but the predator is still there under the surface. Nicole nodded. That's why Earth's military training is so effective. We're not teaching humans to fight. We're teaching them to channel instincts they already have. The capacity for violence is natural to us. We just choose not to use it most of the time. Crick spoke for the first time. My people evolved in harsh conditions. High gravity, dangerous predators, limited resources. We became strong because we had to be. But you are saying humans became strong by choice. You deliberately pushed yourselves harder than necessary. Exactly, Peter said. Earth is dangerous, but not as dangerous as many worlds. We didn't have to be this strong to survive, but our ancestors kept pushing, kept testing limits, kept trying to be better than the generation before. And over millions of years, that drive shaped our biology. Velkara was making calculations on her tablet. If what you say is true, then humans are not just strong. You are resilient, adaptable, and mentally prepared for sustained physical conflict. This is a very unusual combination of traits. It gets worse, Nicole said. Or better, depending on how you look at it. Humans have another advantage. We heal fast. A broken bone that might take other species months to repair will be functional in weeks for us. We can lose significant blood and recover. We can survive injuries that would kill most beings. Torval looked ill. This explains why you were not injured yesterday. Your tissues are simply more durable than we predicted, but it raises new concerns. If humans are this resilient, how do we establish safety protocols? How do we know when a human is actually injured? We'll tell you, Jake said. We're not trying to be difficult. We just didn't know we were different. Peter shut down his presentation. I think that's enough for today. Everyone needs time to process this information. I have detailed reports I can share with anyone interested. The key point is that humans are not a threat. We're just built differently than expected. The meeting broke up slowly. Scientists gathered in small groups, talking in low voices. Jake heard the word human repeated multiple times. He caught fragments of conversation about revising safety standards and updating medical protocols. Lauren touched his arm. This is going to change everything, isn't it? Yeah, Jake said. I think it already has. News spread through Kepler-7 like fire. By the next morning, everyone on the station knew about the humans who had lifted the impossible weight. Jake couldn't walk through the corridors without feeling eyes on him. Some species stared openly. Others moved out of his way, giving him extra space. A few approached to ask questions, their voices careful and polite. Lauren handled it better than he did. She smiled at the stares and answered questions patiently. But Jake could see the tension in her shoulders. This attention was not what they had signed up for. Velkara called them to a meeting on the third day after the incident. When they arrived at the conference room, Jake was surprised to see how many beings were present. The room was full of officials he didn't recognize, wearing badges and uniforms from different organizations. This is Ambassador Trevenal, Velkara said, indicating a tall being with blue-green skin and silver eyes. He represents the Galactic Security Council. The ambassador nodded to them. His species was Rithari, one of the founding members of the council. They were known for being diplomatic but firm. Thank you for meeting with us. I understand this situation has been difficult for you. Please know that we are not here to judge or restrict you. We simply need to understand the full scope of human capabilities. Commander Brandon Torres entered the room behind them. He was the head of Earth's delegation on Kepler-7, a career diplomat with gray in his beard and sharp eyes. Ambassador, I'm here to ensure Earth's interests are protected. Of course, Trevenal said smoothly. We would expect nothing less. Please, everyone sit. They took seats around the long table. Jake found himself between Lauren and Brandon, facing the ambassador and several other officials. Crix was there too, sitting in a reinforced chair that creaked under his weight. Mira occupied a station at the far end, her fingers ready on her computer. Let me be direct, Trevenal said. The Galactic Council is concerned, not because we fear humans, but because we need to reassess our understanding of your species. When Earth joined the galactic community, we conducted standard medical examinations, but apparently we did not conduct adequate physical capability assessments. Brandon leaned forward. With respect, Ambassador, that's not Earth's fault. We answered every question asked. We provided all requested data. If your assessments were incomplete, that's on the Council. I agree, Trevenal said, surprising Jake. We made assumptions based on human size and evolutionary background. We assumed you were physically average. That was our mistake. But now we must correct it. He gestured to one of his aides who activated a display screen. We are proposing a comprehensive evaluation program. Voluntary, of course. We would like to test more humans across multiple disciplines. Strength, endurance, healing rate, environmental tolerance, and psychological resilience. Why? Lauren asked. You already know we're stronger than expected. What more do you need? Context, Trevenol said simply. We need to know the limits. For example, Dr. Hayes, you and Lieutenant Commander Morrison lifted 136 kilograms together for over 2 minutes. But could you have lifted more? For longer? Could another human have done it alone? These questions matter for safety protocols and equipment design. Brandon was reading through a document on his tablet. This proposal is extensive. You're talking about weeks of testing, possibly months. That's a significant commitment. We understand, which is why we are offering compensation. Participants would be paid according to galactic research standards. They would also be contributing to scientific knowledge that will benefit all species, including humanity. Jake raised his hand, feeling foolish even as he did it. Can I ask something? Of course, the ambassador said. Why does everyone seem scared of us? I mean, Crix is way bigger and stronger than any human. The Dolgothi have been in space for thousands of years. Nobody's scared of them. Crix rumbled softly. They were scared of us once. When my people first joined the council, there were restrictions on where we could travel and what jobs we could hold. It took generations to build trust. The lieutenant commander raises a valid point, Trevenol said. Fear is perhaps too strong a word. Concern is more accurate. Humans are not just strong. According to Dr. Chen's report, you are strong, resilient, adaptable, and psychologically comfortable with sustained conflict. That combination is unique in known space. We're not going to hurt anyone, Jake protested. I believe you, but the council must consider all possibilities. Imagine if a species twice as strong as yours joined the galaxy. Wouldn't you want to understand their capabilities? Wouldn't you want safeguards in place? Jake had to admit the ambassador had a point. If aliens landed on Earth who could lift cars one-handed, humans would definitely want to know more about them before trusting them completely. Over the next week, more humans arrived at Kepler-7. Volunteers from Earth's delegation and military, scientists and engineers, even a few athletes who heard about the testing and wanted to participate. The station set up a dedicated facility for the evaluations. Jake and Lauren were asked to participate in the expanded testing. They agreed, partly out of curiosity and partly because they felt responsible. They had started this situation, so they should help see it through. The new tests were more comprehensive. They measured everything from grip strength to reaction time. They tested how much weight humans could carry over distance. They examined healing rates by taking tissue samples. They even tested pain tolerance, though those tests were carefully monitored and stopped if participants showed distress. The results painted a complex picture. Humans were not the strongest species in every category. The Dolgothi could lift more in short bursts. The Xanthari had better fine motor control. The Selnari were faster thinkers. But humans excelled in combined performance. They were strong and tough and could sustain effort for extended periods. Most importantly, they recovered quickly from fatigue and injury. One test particularly impressed the observers. They had humans run an obstacle course designed for military training. The course included climbing, carrying loads, solving problems under pressure, and combat simulations. The humans didn't have the best time on any individual segment, but when they calculated the overall performance, humans outscored every other species tested. It's the recovery time, Peter Chen explained to a group of scientists watching the tests. See how quickly their heart rate returns to normal? See how they can go from intense activity to calm problem-solving almost immediately? That flexibility is rare. Kate Morrison arrived on day 9 of the expanded testing. She was Jake's older sister and a xenobiologist specializing in comparative anatomy. She had been working on a research station near Mars when she heard about the situation and requested transfer to Kepler-7. Little brother causing trouble again, she said when she found Jake in the testing facility. Cafeteria. He hugged her, grateful for a familiar face. I didn't mean to. We just caught a falling beam and revealed that humans are secretly super strong. Yeah, I heard. Kate sat down with her food tray. I've been reading the reports. This is fascinating stuff. Do you know how rare it is to find a species with your combination of traits? Everyone keeps saying that. But we're not that special. We're just humans. That's because you're used to being around other humans. You have no reference point. But trust me, From a biological perspective, you are absolutely remarkable. Kate became part of the research team, offering insights into human evolution and physiology. She worked closely with Torval and the other medical staff to help them understand how human bodies worked. On the 15th day, there was an incident that changed the tone of the entire evaluation. A Xanthari technician was working on equipment in the testing facility when a support beam collapsed. The heavy metal structure fell toward him, too fast for him to dodge. Two human volunteers, Greg Palmer and Lisa Green, were nearby. They both moved without thinking, running toward the falling beam. Greg grabbed one end while Lisa braced the other side. Together they held it off the technician while others pulled him to safety. The whole thing took maybe 5 seconds. When the technician was safe, the humans let the beam drop. It hit the floor with a tremendous crash that echoed through the facility. Greg and Lisa checked on the Xanthari, making sure he wasn't hurt. Then they went back to their assigned tasks as if nothing unusual had happened. But everyone who witnessed it was shaken. Jake heard about it from Kate, who heard it from Torval. They didn't hesitate, the doctor had told her. The beam was falling and they just moved. They risked injury to save someone they barely knew. That is not normal behavior. It's completely normal for humans, Kate had replied. We're social creatures. We protect our group, and we consider anyone working with us to be part of our group. That evening, Ambassador Trevenall called another meeting. This time, only a few people attended. Brandon, Jake, Lauren, Peter, Nicole, and Kate from the human side. Trevenall and 2 other council members from the alien side. We have reviewed all the data, the ambassador said. We have observed your people for 2 weeks now. We need to discuss our findings. Go ahead, Brandon said neutrally. Humans are physically capable beyond our initial assessments. This is clear. But more importantly, you are psychologically adapted to group cooperation and mutual protection. You instinctively help those around you, even at risk to yourselves. This combination of physical capability and social bonding is powerful. Is that a problem? Nicole asked. No, it is reassuring, actually. The council was concerned that human strength might lead to dominance behavior. But what we have observed is cooperation. You are strong, but you use that strength to help others. That changes the equation significantly. Trevenall looked at each human in turn. The council is prepared to remove the restrictions we were considering. Humans will have full access to galactic facilities and opportunities. But we have a request. What kind of request? Brandon asked carefully. Several fields could benefit greatly from human participation. Search and rescue operations in hazardous environments. Emergency response teams. Exploration of high-risk areas. These roles require physical capability and mental resilience. Humans excel at both. Would Earth be willing to provide volunteers for such programs? Brandon smiled slightly. I think we can arrange that. Humans like challenges, and we like helping people. Then we have an agreement, Trevenall said. Earth will be a full partner in galactic operations. No restrictions, no special limitations. You have earned our trust. After the meeting, Jake walked back to his quarters with Lauren. The corridors seemed less hostile now. Beings still looked at them, but the fear was gone. Replaced with something that might have been respect. We did it, Lauren said quietly. We caught a beam and accidentally changed how the galaxy sees humanity. Yeah, Jake agreed. I'm still not sure if that's good or bad. It's good. It has to be. We showed them who we really are. Strong but not dangerous. Capable but not threatening. That's all we could ask for. Jake hoped she was right. 6 weeks after the incident, life on Kepler 7 had settled into a new normal. The testing was complete. The reports were filed. The Galactic Council had issued new guidelines for working with humans, including updated safety protocols and equipment ratings. What had been designed for average galactic citizens now had special notations when humans were involved. Jake found this both amusing and embarrassing. Tools came with warnings like, handle with care when humans are present, or not rated for human strength levels. It made him feel like a bull in a china shop, dangerous to the delicate equipment around him. But there were benefits too. The materials testing project had gained new funding and attention. Belkara's team could push the prototype to limits they had never considered before. Human participation meant they could gather data on extreme stress conditions that would have been impossible otherwise. The test frame was complete now, standing proudly in the center of the lab. It had survived every test they threw at it. The new composite material performed better than anyone had hoped. Felkara was already planning the next phase of research. "We should celebrate," she announced one morning. "The project is a success. We have exceeded all initial goals, and we have learned much about working together despite our differences." That evening, the team gathered in a common area that had been reserved for the occasion. Food and drinks from a dozen different worlds filled the tables. Music played softly in the background, a mix of styles that somehow worked together. Jake found himself standing with Crix near one of the large windows that looked out at the stars. The Dolgothi held a drink in one massive hand, sipping it carefully. "I owe you an apology," Crix said suddenly. "For what? When you first arrived, I thought you were weak. Small and soft like most species from low-gravity worlds. I assumed you would need protection and assistance. I was wrong." "You weren't wrong exactly," Jake said. "We are smaller than you, and we do need help sometimes. Everyone does, but you are not weak. That is what I failed to understand. Strength comes in many forms. My people value physical power above all else, but you have taught me that endurance matters too. Recovery matters. The will to keep going when others would stop. These are strengths I had not fully appreciated." Jake didn't know what to say to that. "Thanks, I guess." Crix made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. "You are uncomfortable with praise. That is very human. I have noticed that about your species. You accomplish remarkable things and then act as if they are nothing special. Because to us, they aren't special. They're just normal. And that is exactly why you are remarkable. You have no idea how extraordinary you are." Across the room, Lauren was talking with Mira and several other Selnari scientists. They were discussing something on a tablet, their voices excited. Lauren had become close friends with Mira over the past weeks. The two species thought differently, but they complemented each other well. Mira's quick computational thinking combined with Lauren's intuitive understanding of physics created insights neither could achieve alone. Felkara approached, Jake with something that might have been wine in her hand. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison, I wanted to thank you personally." "For what?" "I feel like we caused you a lot of trouble." "You revealed truth. That is never trouble. Yes, the situation was uncomfortable. Yes, it required much work to understand and document. But science is about discovering what we do not know. You have given us a gift of knowledge. I still feel bad about breaking your equipment ratings." Felkara's eyes crinkled in what Jake had learned was a Zenthari smile. "We will design better equipment. Already several companies are requesting human consultation on product development. You have created an entire new field of engineering, safety systems designed to actually be safe for the strongest species in known space. We're not trying to be the strongest. I know. That is what makes it acceptable. If humans were aggressive and domineering, your strength would be frightening. But you are cooperative and social. You use your abilities to help, not to dominate. The galaxy can work with that." Peter Chen joined their conversation, a drink in his hand and a smile on his face. "I've been reviewing the final reports. The data we collected will be studied for decades. Every xenobiology department in the galaxy is going to be rewriting their textbooks. Is that good?" Jake asked. "It's science. It's always good when we learn something new about the universe, even if what we learn is that our previous understanding was incomplete." Nicole Shepard entered the room, still in uniform despite the casual nature of the gathering. She made her way to Jake and the others. "I wanted to let you know that Earth has approved the volunteer program. We'll be sending teams to work with Galactic search and rescue operations starting next month." "That was fast," Jake said. "The Council fast-tracked it. Apparently, there have already been situations where human capabilities would have been useful. There was a mining accident on a colony world last week. 3 beings trapped under collapsed rock. The rescue team couldn't lift the debris. They needed specialized equipment that took hours to arrive. With humans on site, those people could have been freed immediately." Jake felt a chill. "Did they survive?" 2 did. 1 didn't. The delays cost a life." Nicole's face was grim. "That's why this matters. It's not about showing off how strong we are. It's about using our abilities to save lives." The evening continued with more food and conversation. Jake noticed that the other species were more relaxed around the humans now. The initial fear and uncertainty had faded. They had seen humans work, seen them help, seen them integrate into the station community. Action spoke louder than any amount of testing or documentation. Kate found Jake near the end of the party. "Mom and Dad send their love. They saw your interview on the news networks back home. I did an interview? Last week. Don't you remember? The reporter who wanted to talk about working with alien species? Jake vaguely remembered someone with a camera asking him questions. He had been focused on work and hadn't thought much of it. What did I say? The usual stuff. How interesting it is to work with beings from other worlds. How much you've learned. How everyone here has been welcoming despite the awkward situation. Kate grinned. You're famous now, little brother. The human who revealed we're all secretly strong. I hate that narrative. We didn't reveal anything. We just caught a beam. A beam that should have crushed you. A beam that nobody thought you could lift. But you did, and that changed everything. Whether you like it or not, you're part of history now. Jake looked around the room at his team. Velkara discussing something with another scientist. Crix laughing at something Mira had said. Lauren showing images on her tablet to a group of interested observers. All of them working together, learning from each other. Maybe it's not so bad, he admitted. I mean, if this is what it takes for humans to be accepted as equals in the galaxy, I guess catching one beam isn't too high a price. The next day, work resumed in the lab. But something had changed. The team moved with easy confidence now. They understood each other's strengths and limitations. They knew when to ask for help and when to offer it. Velkara assigned them a new project, one that would test their skills even further. A deep space habitat design that needed to withstand extreme conditions. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious, but that was exactly why Jake was excited about it. During a break, he found himself on the same platform where the incident had happened. The support beam was still there, locked firmly in its brackets. He touched the metal surface, remembering the weight of it in his hands. Crix climbed up to join him. Thinking about that day? Yeah, everything changed so fast. One moment we're just engineers working on a project. The next we're the subject of galaxy-wide scientific investigation. That is life. It changes when we least expect it. The question is whether we adapt to the change or resist it. And you think we adapted okay? Crix gestured to the lab below, where Lauren and Mira were discussing calculations. I think you adapted perfectly. You remained who you are while helping others understand you. That is the best kind of adaptation. A message came through on Jake's communicator. It was from Brandon Torres. When you have a moment, please come to my office. I have a proposal I think you'll find interesting. Jake and Crix made their way to the administrative section. Brandon's office was modest, decorated with images of Earth and a few alien artifacts he had collected during his diplomatic career. Thank you for coming, Brandon said. I'll get straight to the point. The Galactic Exploration Commission has requested human participation in their next major survey mission. They're planning to explore an uncharted region of space known for dangerous conditions, radiation storms, extreme gravity wells, unstable planets, the kind of place where physical resilience matters. And they want humans because we can handle it, Jake said. Exactly. They need a team that can survive and function in environments that would incapacitate most species. I know you're still working on the materials project, but I thought you might be interested in the opportunity. Jake looked at Crix. What do you think? I think you should do what makes you happy. But I will miss working with you if you leave. The mission doesn't start for 6 months, Brandon added. You have time to finish your current project and train for the new one. And it's completely voluntary. No pressure. Jake thought about it. Exploring unknown space. Facing challenges that tested the limits of human capability. Working with beings from across the galaxy to expand everyone's understanding of the universe. It sounded terrifying and exciting in equal measure. I'm interested, he said. But I'd want Lauren to come too. And if possible, some of our team from here. We work well together. Brandon smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. I'll make the arrangements. That evening, Jake told Lauren about the opportunity. They were in their common area, reviewing the day's work. When he finished explaining, she was quiet for a long moment. That's a big step, she finally said. We'd be leaving the station. Leaving the project we've been working on. I know. But the project is almost done anyway. Velkara already has plans for the next phase, and she doesn't really need us for that. This would be something new. Something important. You're right. And honestly, I'm excited about it. We've proven we can work with other species. Now we get to show what we can do in the field. Real exploration, not just lab work. So you're in? I'm in. Let's go explore the galaxy and accidentally reveal more things about humans that nobody expected. They both laughed. It had become a running joke between them. Every time they did something they considered normal, someone else would act shocked and amazed. It was exhausting and flattering at the same time. The weeks passed quickly. The materials project wrapped up successfully. Velkara presented their findings to the Institute, and the new composite material was approved for production. It would be used in construction projects across the galaxy. On the last day before they transferred to the exploration training facility, the team gathered one final time. Velkara gave a formal speech, thanking everyone for their contributions. Mira cried, which surprised Jake because he didn't know Selnari could cry. Crick stood silently, his massive presence a comfort. "You have taught me much," Velkara said to Jake and Lauren privately after the ceremony. "Not just about human capabilities, but about the value of diversity. Every species brings unique gifts. The galaxy is richer for having humans in it." "Thank you," Lauren said, "for giving us a chance, for not being afraid of us when you could have been. Fear is easy. Understanding requires effort. But understanding is always worth the effort." Jake and Lauren left Kepler-7 on a transport headed for Earth. They would train there for several months before joining the exploration mission. As the station grew smaller in the window, Jake felt a mix of sadness and anticipation. They had come to Kepler-7 as nervous newcomers, unsure of their place in the galaxy. They were leaving as confident contributors who had proven their worth. The incident with the beam had been an accident, but what came after was deliberate choice. They had chosen to be honest about their abilities. They had chosen to cooperate with the testing and investigation. They had chosen to build bridges instead of walls. "Do you think we'll ever stop being the humans who revealed human strength?" Lauren asked. "Probably not," Jake admitted. "But maybe that's okay. Everyone needs an origin story. Ours just happens to involve catching a falling beam. Could be worse. Could be better." They both smiled. Below them, space stretched out infinite and dark, full of worlds they had never seen and beings they had never met. Somewhere out there, more discoveries waited. More chances to learn and grow and show the galaxy what humans could do. But for now, they were content with what they had accomplished. They had started as outsiders and become part of the galactic community. They had proven that humans belonged among the stars. And they had done it not by trying to be superior, but by simply being themselves. The transport jumped to faster-than-light travel, and Kepler-7 vanished behind them. Ahead lay Earth, training, and eventually the exploration mission. New challenges, new opportunities, new chances to accidentally reveal something unexpected about humanity. Jake leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. Whatever came next, he was ready for it. And he wasn't alone. He had Lauren and Kate and all the other humans who would join the mission. He had friends like Crix and Mira and Velkara, who saw past the differences to the people underneath. The galaxy was vast and strange and full of wonders, but it was also becoming familiar, becoming home. And that, Jake thought, was the most important discovery of all. Not that humans were strong or resilient or unusual, but that they belonged, that they had a place among the stars, working alongside beings from countless worlds to build something better together. The incident in the lab had been simple physics. A beam falling, humans catching it, gravity doing its work. But what it revealed went beyond strength or endurance. It revealed potential. The potential for understanding across species. The potential for cooperation despite differences. The potential for a future where humans and aliens worked side by side as equals. That was worth more than any amount of physical capability. That was worth everything.